All right, let's dive into a really fascinating poem by Walt Whitman called Animals. It's short, but man, is it powerful. It's basically him holding up a mirror to all of us, and, what we see in that reflection isn't always pretty.
Before we even get into Whitman's words, I think this quote from Mark Twain just sets the scene perfectly. He said, "The more I learn about people, the more I like my dog." And that's exactly the kind of feeling Whitman is tapping into here. This sense that animals have a kind of simple honesty that maybe, just maybe, we've lost along the way.
Okay, so Whitman's radical idea. To really get what he's doing in this poem, you got to understand that Walt Whitman was, he was a total game changer. I mean, he wasn't just writing poems, he was basically tearing up the rule book and starting over.
Think about the poetry you might have learned in school. All the strict rhymes and rhythms. Well, Whitman looked at that and said, nope. He started writing in what's called free verse. That means no forced rhymes, no rigid beat. It just flows. It sounds more like someone actually talking, thinking out loud. And back then, that was a huge deal, absolutely revolutionary.
And this wasn't just about his writing style either. The guy was a non-conformist through and through. He didn't just go along with things because that's how they've always been done. No way. He questioned everything. He had to figure things out for himself, which is, you guessed it, exactly what he's doing right here in this poem.
So what's the big radical idea in Animals? Well, it's pretty blunt, actually. He says he could totally turn and live with animals. Why? Because he finds them superior to humans. He looks at people and sees, a mess. Complicated, fake. But animals? They're simple. They're real.
All right, section 2, the flaws of humanity. So Whitman's holding up this mirror, and he's not holding back. Let's take a look at the not-so-flattering reflection he sees when he looks at us.
First up, our emotional state. He basically says we humans are a wreck, right? We're anxious, we're depressed, we lie awake at night, stewing over things we did wrong, weeping for our sins. We're always complaining, or as he puts it, we whine. And then you look at animals. They're just calm, placid. They're not bogged down by guilt or sorrow. They just exist.
Then he gets into our obsession with stuff, materialism. And he doesn't mince words. He says we're demented with the mania of owning things. Think about that, a mania. It's like an illness. An animal is content when its needs are met. But us, we're never satisfied. We're always obsessed with getting more, possessing more.
And this isn't some old-fashioned idea, right? I mean, think about it today. The source material gives this great modern example. Imagine someone buys a house for, say, $700 grand. Okay, nice house. But then they spend over $1 million just on the interior design. $1 million! That's the mania he's talking about. And then what happens? A simple water leak from the apartment above ruins everything. It just goes to show how fragile all that stuff really is.
And it doesn't stop with stuff. Look at our societies. We build these complicated hierarchies. We're constantly talking about our duty to God. We literally kneel to other people, to our ancestors. But in the animal world, none of that exists. Not a single animal kneels to another. There's no concept of being more respectable or important than anyone else.
So, after pointing out all our problems, Whitman flips the coin. Let's look at what he admires so much, the virtues of animals.
So what does he see in them? Well, pretty much everything we're not. They're placid, not easily upset. They're self-contained, totally self-sufficient. And they're just real. There's no fakeness. What you see is what you get. They're not weighed down by guilt about the past or a crazy obsession with owning things in the future.
And all of this whole comparison, leads into this really deep, kind of sad question about what we as humans have lost along the way. He has this incredible line where he says, "Animals bring me tokens of myself." What does he mean by tokens? He's talking about these amazing qualities he sees in them, that calmness, that honesty. And he recognizes them. He's saying, hey, wait a minute. I think these used to be our virtues. These were once part of us.
So what are these tokens that we supposedly dropped? They're the big ones, the core virtues. We're talking about innocence, simplicity, contentment, just being happy with what you have, real kindness, a lack of greed. All these things that he sees so clearly in animals, but seem to be missing in us.
And this builds to what might be one of the most powerful questions ever asked in a poem. He asks, did I pass that way huge times ago and negligently drop them? Just think about that.
He's wondering if all of humanity, on our long journey to becoming civilized, just carelessly dropped these most important parts of ourselves by the side of the road.
So, where does this leave us? Why this desire to go live with animals? What's he really getting at? Well, obviously he's not literally planning to pack a bag and go live in the woods. It's a metaphor, and a really powerful one. What he's really saying is that he has this deep, deep longing to get back to something more real, to shed all the complications, the anxiety, the fakeness of human society, and find a simpler, more authentic way to be, a way of being that he sees in animals every single day.
And that's really the question the poem leaves us with, isn't it? This isn't just some dusty old poem. It's asking us, right here, right now, to look at our own lives. What tokens have we lost? What bit of innocence or simplicity have we maybe negligently dropped along the way? And the really big question is, how do we get them back?